Welcome to another episode of the Late Lunch Leftovers. This is the podcast where we take a look back at some of the best bits from the week. This past week we were in Sulby for the latest episode of our Village Hall series. Donna taught us another wonderfully joyful Paracise practice. And we were invited into one of the gorgeous Port Erin secret gardens for a sneak preview ahead of the event this week. But to begin with, we looked at boundaries with life coach Kat Mills from Transformational Health.
Personal boundaries are super important, actually, and the reason they're important is because really they set up the basic guidelines for how we would like to be treated and respected by others. Yeah.
Where do these boundaries come from then? Where do we sort of learn this type of behaviour, I guess? Okay,
so like most of our behaviours, we learn them from, our caregivers, whoever they may be, or the people we were surrounded with as we grow up. And we're conditioned by the people we're cared for. So if you're a good girl, you'll go and help ABC, or you'll go and help. So it's intrinsic in us. So it's hard sometimes to recognise if our boundaries are healthy or not.
And as with all brilliant life coaches, this is something that you have been through yourself. So you've had experience of give, and just how draining that can be.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, it took me to get quite far along that and realise that instead of blaming everybody else and pointing the finger, it was actually me that needed to look at the boundaries that I was setting for myself. And of course, was absolutely exhausted and fatigued and had to take a swift look and be curious about why I felt the way I did. Yeah.
So I guess just to clarify, because I think we can get from what you're saying, but what would you say boundaries actually are?
So boundaries really, they are... like I say, they're basic guidelines of how to establish safe spaces between each other, whether it be in work or relationships or even with your children.
So it could be like time, or so when you talk about giving, so it's sort of giving something of yourself and creating a sort of end point for that in a way.
Yeah, I think often we need to look at, say if we're looking at boundaries, we really want to look at whether what we're doing in our lives, whether we choose to help someone, whether that is within our best interest at that time, or is it going to affect us in a way that might affect not only ourselves but our relationships, our family and our children.
I think the thing with this, if you are the sort of person who constantly says yes to everybody, who constantly tries to please everyone, you can end up feeling really resentful, but also like nobody really cares about you.
Absolutely, yeah. So you have, they're often like little alarms or flags, red flags, I would say. Absolutely, Beth. So you feel depleted, you feel like you're starting to lack energy. You feel angry and resentful, and you feel like no one cares, like you say, and that no one really cares about what you might like or what you might want.
So then what we need are some top tips about how to establish healthy boundaries.
Yeah, now you'd think it'd be something super intrinsically important or something really hard, and actually these are the three simplest things in the world. And the first one is really if someone's asking something of you, and it could be imagine you're a parent helping at school or for a charity and something where you really feel like you need to give. I just want you to think, if someone's asking something of you, just pause before you answer. Or even say to the person, I hope you don't mind, is it all right if I check my diary and get back to you? Because sometimes when we have that moment or that pause in, we think, actually, if I do that, this week's going to be super hectic. I'm not going to have time for myself. I'm not even going to have time to have dinner. And then we can respond in a way that's healthy. The second thing is just be really clear about what you want and also what you're willing to do. So be clear. Be clear about what you want to get involved in or what you want to do for people. And the third thing is, if you're doing this thing, is it within your best interest to do it? Is it part of you? Is it something that nourishes you? Is it in your best interest? And if it's not, reconsider.
The Nation Station, Max Radio.
So we do have John and Mavis here who are from this particular garden, which you will be able to see on the Secret Gardens and Hidden Treasures map, I suppose.
And what you need to do is go to the Max Radio Facebook page where we are live currently and see when you do the tour of Port Erin if you can work out which is the garden.
Oh, very good.
A little bit cryptic.
And we're going to let Tanya, who understands gardens considerably more than we do, have a conversation with John in a moment. But before we do that, John, when did you actually start putting this garden together?
Well, we moved here from Peel, where we had a nice garden, so it was a blank canvas, so we just sort of started from there, and like I said on the gate, trial and error, and we've had plenty of errors, I can assure you. But yes, we enjoy our gardening, and we look for colour 12 months of the year, which we usually manage to obtain, apart from when we had the beast from the east. That was a challenge a few years ago, that wasn't it? Yeah.
So, John, I'm really intrigued. Is this something that you've always loved doing? Is it a skill that's been passed down, or something that you've just learnt along the way?
Well, I lived in Castletown to start off with. My father was keen on gardening, and then we moved to Ballasalla, we were keen. So it's sort of grown up with us. We are both very, very keen on it, both of us are. And I used to grow a lot of chrysanthemums, and that took me interest. So it's a part-time hobby that we really enjoy, but it's not too expensive either. If you're careful, and the likes of most of the stuff in here are from cuttings, and we grow them up every year. So it's a good hobby, and it's reasonably priced.
He says he has grown croissants in the past. He's been very humble about it because he's actually won awards, hasn't he, Mavis?
He has. At one time, he won 11 trophies. Yes, he did, didn't you?
Do you know the secret of a good croissant, Tanya?
I don't, but I'm waiting to find out.
Well, to grow croissants for exhibition like the boys do at the Southern Croissant Show, which is in November, which you must see because it's impressive, they grow them for 12 months. And they've got 1 week to get them perfect.
Wow.
And they are perfect. And that is real dedication. I don't do it now. I got the easy part now, and that's judging them. So that's so easy. You know, you can just say, well, that's not perfect. And you think, I wish I could grow them like that again.
So you're basically a retired gardener. This is more fun gardening.
Yeah, this is more fun gardening. No pressure on this.
So when people are here in a couple of weeks, what is your most prized area of the garden? Where do you hope that people will go and see something, get inspiration?
Well, I think when they grow a garden, they want to come around and see what does well locally if they're planting their own garden from scratch. You see on Gardener's Quest, Garden What Should I Grow, etc. The best way is to go around these gardens, see what's on there, ask people about them, and they'll give you a good idea what does locally. The likes of Chelsea, you know, where you've got thousands of pounds spent on doing magnificent gardens. We just can't afford that, so we just have to make the best of plants we've got, reasonably priced plants, and a bit of patience and lots of trial and error.
You have a lot of plants here in the garden that you ordinarily wouldn't find in a garden centre here on the Isle of Man. What are your top tips for getting a hold of some of these plants?
Every plant in the garden here is available in the Isle of Man.
Is it?
Yes, all these beautiful plants here, they're all from a local nursery. Well, I got the original plant from large nursery, and then you take cuttings and grow them up.
Tanya, how long is it going to be before my garden is at that state where I can just let it be? Well, how long are you spending on it right now? Let's not talk about that either.
Even Alex in the studio laughed at that one, I have to say.
I want to see your sweet peas. They should be up here by now. Yeah, there was an issue. Again, let's not talk about that right now. I don't want to talk about it.
But Tanya, when you came into this garden, what were some of the plants that really caught your eye?
Well, he's got a colour scheme at the front, so it's lots of pink. So it was an explosion of pink, and there's so many different types of roses up front. He doesn't know all the varieties because they've been in so long, but the scents are just incredible. There's one that smells just like Turkish Delights. So it's that kind of impact, and then also all of the scented leaves and other flowers. He's got blackcurrant sage, which I've just had as a tea recently. I have it growing in the garden, and I put it in some tea. It's amazing. And scented geraniums.
But you have got some very exciting news. What hints can you give us about it?
Oh, I can't say a whole lot, but I will say that a very well-known television show was here on the island recently, paid the allotment a visit, and you'll hear a little bit more about that very soon. Another cryptic clue.
Exciting! I know quite a lot about it. Well, hopefully we'll share more in the coming weeks. But we are with Pam Crow, who's put together a lot of this programme for the Secret Gardens and Hidden Treasures. Pam, tell us about some of the other gardens that are available. I've got some notes here. I want to know, for instance, about the world's oldest hen. What's that got to do with gardening?
Well, this is a good life garden. It's actually a wonderful garden. It's a garden that John knows well. He'd know far more about it than me. But they have every kind of vegetable, fruit, and then flowers as well. Real imagination. And they have a hen that'll walk around with you. Asking the name of the hen from this imaginative couple, the name is Hen. So, yes, but they did say that they thought it was very old. So, the world's oldest hen. I mean, who's going to argue?
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Welcome, Donna from Paracise. I haven't come up with a little catchy nickname for Donna yet. I've got Mindful Mike. Ooh, I'll have to think about that one. But anyway, how are you? How are the classes going?
I'm good. Class is going really well. Had a nice busy week of classes. Poor Erin this morning. It was great.
You were also doing a boot camp at 6 a.m.
I was, yes. We were at the NSC doing a boot camp this morning, so nice early start.
Yeah, you say nice. I'd probably say something else. We're going to do another practice. You're going to take us through another practice very shortly, which our Ben Hartley, who's just walked into the studio, is going to video for us. And once again, it's going to go on the Manx Radio Facebook page. But let's just talk about the fact that Paracise is about much more, really, than exercising. The social benefits of it can be huge, can't they?
Yeah, and I've noticed that more so as the classes have grown and developed, that lots of people who come to the classes maybe had lost touch with some of their friends, and when they turn up to a class, they then realise people they hadn't seen for a number of years, perhaps. Other people who may be going through a period of their life where they're struggling, find support in the Paracise class. We focus on what the body can do, so people at all different ages, all different ability levels come and do what they can in the class.
And that sort of socialising is really good for your mental health, isn't it, as well?
It is, and you know, there's been some lovely comments this week. One lady said to me yesterday that Paracise is the first class that she wanted to return to, so she'd try different things, and this, because she enjoyed it, she wanted to come back. And I asked her what she enjoyed about it, and she said it made her smile, it lifted her mood, and I think that's so important, to leave a class feeling happy, feeling like they've enjoyed it.
And a lot of that, as we were saying last time, can be down to the choice of music, because you make a point of putting really uplifting music in it, don't you?
Yes, definitely. The music is so important. That's one of the first things people say after the session. Oh, I loved that. And they straight away comment on the music. So you'll be hearing one of the favourite tracks today, which we'll be doing shortly.
Fantastic. If you had to pick a song that was your anthem then, Donna, what would that be?
I'd probably say one of the Paracise tracks, perhaps this one, because I've listened to it so many times. So perhaps the one we're going to be playing today.
Sort of thing that if you heard it in the street, you just suddenly dance into a routine.
Yes, definitely.
Just a note, obviously people listening to this might be really inspired to go along to one of the classes, but we just want to mention that you are actually allowed a holiday and you're having one next week.
Yeah, I've just got a couple of days off next week. So if you were intending to come for the first time, there's a few days where Paracise isn't on, but we're back to normal the week after, commencing the 8th. We've got our normal classes tomorrow, which is at Carrefour, and Friday at Peel. So it's just a couple of days that I'll be off the island.
And the first class for new people is free, isn't it?
It sure is, yeah. Free of charge for anyone to come and try it.
Wonderful. Well, just explain to us then what we're going to be doing to the piece of music that we're going to hear in a moment.
Okay, so the track we're going to be doing today, the moves are called the waves. So these are great for spinal mobility, directional change, and we're also going to be doing a lot of upper body stretching with the moves that will follow. There's an optional advancement with the legs to bring a little bit more work on leg strengthening, helping the muscles that are involved in standing up and sitting down. Some clients prefer to do this one seated, so it's a track that lends itself well to being able to be done seated.
Can we do it seated?
No, you'll be doing standing today.
Nice try, Beth.
So bossy. I've got a few nicknames for you now, Donna.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Also here in St Stephen's Hall, we have a fantastic display of dolls' houses. Now, I happen to know that our Judith Lay is terribly jealous of this display.
No, I'm not jealous. Honestly, really, I'm not. The fact that I'm just agreeing with envy, but no, actually, I'm quite happy because the lovely Sue Cook, whose work this is, and I mean work, because as opposed to the doll's houses you came to see, which I did not make any of that, I just arranged all the furniture, Sue has made a huge amount of this. She is so gifted, it's a passion of hers, but she did allow me a little play with the houses this morning before anybody came in the hall. Supervised playing.
Oh, do you know, we don't want to give too much away really, because you really need to come here to see what is on display. But Sue, how would you describe what is here today?
Oh, I don't know how to explain it, to be quite honest with you. It's a passion of mine. It really is a passion. I'll be quite honest, it's what kept me going after I lost my husband. I suppose it's got, I've got rather too much, as my daughter would say. But I find it very relaxing. And an hour can slip away and you don't realise at all. You know, and there is so much, whatever is in human size, if you like, you can get in miniature.
And you have crafted some of these things. I mean, you say you don't do furniture, that's the only thing you don't do, but tell us about some of the things that you've made. What's some of your favourite pieces?
Well, the church, I've called it St Chad's because I'm a Brummie, my husband was Manx, and St Chad's was a lovely church, it was my favourite church. And I also have a young son buried in France, so the stained glass windows are done from a church in France. My friend did those for me. The wording round the church is in Manx, and it's the first line of the 23rd Psalm, and by the altar you have got the Lord's Prayer in Manx, which my husband knew and learned from school. The other thing that I like, I love sewing. Well, I love any craft. I'll have a go at doing anything at all. But sewing I love, and that's, I've done a quilting shop, which is still an ongoing, well, they're all ongoing. You can always find something to add and to make. I love miniature embroidery, I really do. I can spend many hours doing that. And I've started a Beatrix Potter shop.
That's the thing, I mean, looking around, there are some instantly recognisable places, and this is a world, Christy, that I would love to lose myself in.
The thing that's amazing, it's not just the intricacies and how tiny these things are, and of course Judith knows all about this, but Judith, the thing that gets me is how she's, for instance, she's created a little castle here, a little castle room, but also taking items like kettles and watering cans and turning them into sort of little dolls' houses.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the imagination, because we're just looking around, and this is just a small selection of Sue's complete collection, but we've got here a teapot, you know, the sort of catering size that you would have in a church hall. And Sue's cut out...
That's Ollie, by the way, growling at us, I should say.
Ollie wants to be on the programme, and quite right too. Hello, Ollie. He's very good. He comes to church. He's he's very holy dog. He's very good. Joins in all the hymns. Now, this is a catering-sized teapot, and Sue's had the front cut off it, and she's put an Alice in Wonderland tea party inside it. And here we've got a watering can. Again, it's one of those traditional metal watering cans that we have back in the 1950s. The front is cut out of it, and inside it is the perfect potting shed. And visitors must come and find, I'm not going to tell you anything else, the tithe egg and the horse
very
that
naughty
stole
horse.
the trousers.
Those are all our late lunch leftovers for this week. Do tune in for the main helping on Manx Radio, weekdays just after 2 p.m.
Every week, of course, we'll have our regular features with Duxford Diaries, we'll have Mark Tiley's Greatest Hit, Midweek Mindfulness, and plenty more with our monthly guests as well.
But for now, thank you so much for listening to the Late Lunch Leftovers podcast. We'll see you again next time.